Hello, hello. Thank you for joining me today. This is the Spicy Pecan Podcast.
Have you ever had a dream that you had you could you do you want you could do so you could.
I just thought that clip was so hilarious, and I figured if I could do a little better than him, I should be in pretty good shape. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining me. My name is Nina Rivera. I own a small media company and have been in executive communications and or sales for over 10 years. I am using this podcast as a personal growth resource, and I want you to use it that way as well. I have learned some of my biggest life lessons through other people's personal experiences. You will hear some of mine, some from others, and I want to definitely hear some from you guys. My first share is the reason I'm actually doing this podcast in the first place. Over the past 2 years, I have lost count of how many people I know who have lost their lives. Family, friends, all different circumstances. 3 uncles just in the past 2 months, and that has nothing to do with the virus. So then COVID hits. I'm in one of the hardest hit counties in Pennsylvania in the very beginning, before it was a big deal here in the US. My place of employment kept going back and forth as to whether we're reporting into the office or not, come in this day, don't come in the next day. If you're anything like me, when life becomes very chaotic and unstable, your mind begins to race, go crazy. And then it calms down and you start to reflect. And that's kind of where I am now. It's kind of in a space now where if all the rules can change at any moment, how am I authentically being me? If the world can turn upside down, what have I actually been doing with my time? What do I have that is truly fulfilling me other than my relationships with people? Basically, the age old question, who am I and where the hell is this going? If I am truly all that I have, how am I honoring my soul? What is my part? And then it clicked to me. I honor myself by celebrating my voice. Now, at this point, you guys are probably like, please don't let this bitch start singing. I'm not going to start singing. What I mean by celebrating my voice is, think about it. I have been talking for a living for over 10 years anyway. Why would I fear having a podcast when I'm doing just that? Only now I'm doing it for myself. If a company can tell me that I am good enough to consult on their products and services and things like that, why am I not having that same internal dialogue with myself about myself? Still with me? Okay. I don't want to dive too deep into that because that actually leads into our topic. And there are some housekeeping items that I would like to go over. I just want to share some tips during this time as we're kind of experiencing the same thing, but some of us have more disparity than others. If you have recently lost your employment, there are certain things that you should be doing immediately. One of the things that you want to do is you want to call all of your creditors. Okay. You want to talk to anyone that you are paying on a regular basis, credit cards, your phone company, utilities, everyone. You want to see if there are any options that they're providing during this time for you. I have been speaking to creditors over the past couple of days, and I can tell you that another tip that I was given is if you have been laid off, if you find yourself without employment, make sure that you are filing for unemployment right away. Do not wait. For some reason, people are waiting. File literally the next day. Okay, we don't know what the lag is exactly going to be like, and you want to set yourself up so that you're getting back to some type of normalcy as soon as possible. Another thing that you want to talk to while you're speaking with the creditors is you just want to double check and make sure that any changes that you were making to your payment, it will not affect your credit. So for example, if you're talking to T-Mobile actually, a credit card is a better example. If you're talking to Capital One and they say, yes, we will give you a 30-day grace period. You won't have to make a payment. We won't charge you a late fee. Make sure that you are ensuring that your credit will reflect that you have been current the entire time. Okay. If not, you kind of want to look at it. Is it better to make partial payments? Is it better to do something else? Because if it's going to affect your credit score, you might want to look at that. In most cases, credit is more important than anything else. So just be mindful of that. Right now, make sure that you are enrolling in any type of healthcare that you can, if for some reason you find that you are without healthcare right now. Again, if you've lost employment, you may qualify for state, federal funded healthcare. Make sure that you are filling out the appropriate paperwork. As we can see right now, healthcare is the most important thing. So please make sure that you are doing everything that you possibly can to ensure that you have it. That is not to say that if you get sick to not go to the doctor. You absolutely still want to go if you are having shortness of breath or any of the severe symptoms that are associated with COVID. Okay. Another thing that people aren't really thinking about, but I just kind of want to mention, stocks might be something you want to look at right now. Even in just educating yourself in how the financial markets work. You have nothing but time right now. This is actually a really good time to pick up some, stocks. I'm not going to recommend anything because I'm not a financial, expert. I'm just sharing the information that has been passed on to me. That is what we're here to do. Each one teach one. And the most important thing is stress. Stress will get you before anything else. Okay. And it also lowers your immune system. Stress will cause you to make some really bad decisions, quick, fast, rash decisions. Please make sure that you are doing everything that you can to take care of your mental health, take care of your stress levels, take care of your anxiety levels. Whatever it is that you need to do, even if you need to start taking baths or working out, there are so many different things you can do to make sure that you are getting, that relief that you need. As some of you may or may not know, I struggled with addiction for years and years and years. So for anyone that you know who is in your life who struggles with addiction, please check in on them. If you have a history of addiction, times like this hit us so much harder, and people just don't realize. So please make sure that you are still attending meetings. You can do them online. Make sure that you are continuing to do your step work. Do not allow this temporary setback in our lives to destroy everything that you have built. Okay? And also, people, I just want to say, we are human beings. We adapt, okay? Life will go back to some sort of normal. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like if we're all going to be running around with masks, and we'll figure out a way to compete with each other with that. Your mask blings, my mask doesn't bling. Even if we end up in the clubs with bubble suits, y'all bitches will be twerking in the club with bubble suits. We will get back to some sense of normalcy, I promise you. We are human beings. We adapt, we create, we invent. I know that this is very stressful. I know that people are losing family members. I know that people are losing friends. I am not in any way trying to dishonor that, but I promise you that life will return back to normal, that we will begin to pick up the pieces of where we are. And with that being said, now seems like a really good time to go to a commercial break. This summer, the hottest retailer, innovative styles. Fashion Nova presents Fashion Rona, quarantine wear for the most fashionable diva. Form-fitting hazmat suits to ensure you're not caught slipping in these streets. Why sacrifice safety during your hot girl summer? Use coupon code QuarantinePecans for 10% off. Don't let that COVID stop you from being candy coated. Thank you, Fashion Rona. So I want to dive into the topic, and I want to talk to you guys today about taking leaps of faith, overcoming fear. So I am not the type of person who really enjoys being in the front of things. When I was younger, it was a little different. I definitely had a lot less concerns. I was always in front of somebody's camera or something. But as I became an adult, I have so many more irrational fears that stop me. So I started, not always, but I started to just resign myself to the back, behind the scenes, encouraging others, helping others, bringing other people's ideas to life. I've done podcasts before. I've helped other people create their logos and create their podcast distribution, web series. I've done a lot of different things, but it's different when you're up front. That fear of being center stage, it's an actual fear of mine. So, um, I just want to ask, how are you doing that in your life? You know, what is holding you back from doing exactly what I'm doing right now, exposing myself for something that I know that I really want, something that I know that will fulfill me because I do feel like I have a message to share. How are you doing that in your life? Is it always about the kids? Is it always about your partner? Is it always about the company you work for and what they want? By the time you look up, I know at least me, by the time you look up, everybody's moving and shaking but you. You're still in the same spot, still spinning the same wheels, still feeling like you're moving in almost a circle, basically the rat race. Now, don't get me wrong, I love helping other people. Being of service is one of the reasons I believe we are all here spiritually. However, fulfilling your journey should be a primary focus in your life. And we allow other things to distract us from that. And it's so vitally important to our happiness. What is it in your life that you would love to be doing right now? If you could do it all again, if you could design it your way, who would you be? What are the steps that you can take to get closer to that? Emerson said, "He who is not every day conquering some fear has not learned the secret of life." I definitely feel like that's the case. Everything that we fear is what we need to be going towards. Now, I'm not saying, do you got a gun, run towards the gun. No, definitely not saying that at all. And I hope that in most of what I'm telling you, we're incorporating some sense of common sense. What I'm saying is the things that you internally fear. You have that voice in your head that says, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm terrified of that." That's where you need to run into. That is where your journey lies. A moment. Why not? People are losing their lives every day in a blink of an eye because of a virus. If all the rules can change, why not? If the world can turn upside down, what are you doing to fulfill who you are inside? What are you doing to leave your mark? How are you fulfilling your soul's purpose? One of the things that I constantly do that I'm trying to get myself out of is what if. And for some reason, for me, I always use the what if game to my disadvantage. I'm always saying, well, what if something goes wrong? What if I don't have enough money? What if somebody says this about me? What if, what if, what if? All these invisible people in my head who have these opinions, you know, what if? Well, what if it works? What if now is the time? What if I needed to be sat down? What if I needed for everything to stop, for me to finally take the time to say, whoa, I see where my direction is going and I don't like it. I want to change course, or I want to add something, or I want to experience something new, or I wanted to try this that I never tried, or I always said I was going to do this. But what if? What if it goes wrong? What if it fails? What if I put all my eggs in this basket and it doesn't yield anything? What if all you ever did was watch hours and hours of television? What if that? What if you're 90 years old, God willing, we make it to that age, and All of the things that you wanted to do are sitting on a checklist somewhere, some invisible bucket list, and you never checked anything off. And it's not because you couldn't, it's because you were too afraid to, or you'll do it later and later never comes, or you were playing the what if game with yourself. What if that? I feel like that's a lot scarier proposition. I talk to people all the time about so many different things. And I'm constantly hearing people say, I wish I could. I should have. Why? Why live in that? What can you be doing today to help yourself in 10 years? How can you get closer to what it is that you want your life to look like? If right now you are stuck in a house that you hate and you're with a person you do not love, and you are in a situation with your job, or well, we don't even know the situations with our jobs in a lot of cases, but let's just say you're in a career or a job that you do not enjoy. Maybe you needed to be sat down. Maybe you needed for time to stop a little bit for you to say, wow, is this where I want to continue to keep going? And if that is the case, if I'm speaking to you, I want you to know that I am exactly there. I was actually on social media last night, and I know that people are thinking about this because I came across a profile where someone was basically saying verbatim what I'm saying now. This quarantine got me thinking about my life. This quarantine has got me thinking that I can do better and be better. Are there 5 books that have been sitting on your damn nightstand for a year? You know what I mean? What are the things that we needed to be sat down to get to? Those 5 books that are sitting on your nightstand that you've been meaning to get to for so long, one of those books could change your life. Wouldn't you rather tell the story of 2020 was terrible with the quarantine, but you know what? I actually got an opportunity to start working out. I've been saying I wanted to lose 20 pounds for I don't know how long. And I actually started to put in place some practices and routines that I have even today. Man, 2020 quarantine was terrible. People died. It was horrible. But you know what? I had 5 books sitting on my nightstand. I ended up reading all of them, and one of them changed my entire life. Would you rather that be the case? You know, it was terrible what happened, but I started a podcast out of it. It was terrible what happened, but I started to put in place the steps to start my salon. It was terrible what happened, but I realized that I want to do online classes. Instead of being a stylist, I want to teach people how to do hair, but I want to do it online. I have an idea for a patent that it's been floating around forever. Still, I haven't seen the product. I'm going to go ahead and figure out what I need to do to get this thing rolling. That's what I did in 2020. That's what I did during the quarantine. Not caught up on every episode of Love and Hip Hop and everything that was on OWN and the have and have nots and all of that. Listen, I love TV. Don't get me wrong. I am like a reality TV whore. But this is an opportunity. And if you don't see that, I think you might be missing the mark. This is an opportunity since everyone has the exact same information. Think about it. If you have been saying you wanted to be a writer for years and years and years, we all know the same information about the quarantine. Could you use this opportunity to maybe write a script, write a book, write a novel, start a blog? Spielberg knows the same information that you do right now. Apple knows the same information pretty much that you do right now about this virus. We're all experiencing this for the first time. In that way, we are all on the same playing field. How can you use this information to your advantage? Don't allow fear or what someone else is going to say or what if or I'll do it later stop you. Now is the time. If you needed to hear this, if you happen to come across this podcast, you may have needed to hear this message. I'm telling you that now is the time. I'm telling you that you can do it. I'm telling you that you don't have to know the entire plan. You don't have to know how it's going to end up. You don't even have to know that it's going to be successful. You have to have the passion in your heart and the willingness to overcome your fear to start. Sometimes starting is the hardest part. Sometimes just getting going is the hardest part. If you're listening to this podcast, you more than likely needed to hear this message for some reason. And I'm telling you, use this opportunity to start. If you're getting this podcast outside of the quarantine, use today to start. What is it that you've been saying that you wanted to do? How is fear holding you back from the things that you want to do? I have lost so many people in my life, and I can tell you that some of them have many regrets, many regrets, because they gave into addictions. They gave into fears. They put their hands up and they gave up. Is that the case in every case? No. But I know because I've had conversations with some of these people. Don't let it be you. I told you I always learn best from other people's experiences. I love things like documentaries. I love reality TV. I just love the study of human beings and how we think and how we group up and just all of that. And I came across some of these I've already known, and some of these you guys know as well, but they're always good reminders to remember the objections that we're telling ourselves in our head, they are only in our head in a lot of cases. For example, when people say, I'm too old. Well, I'll tell you this, Colonel Sanders started KFC at 65. He got his first Social Security check for $99 and said, I have to do something. 65 years old starting a business. How do I then, in my 30s, 40s, 50s, say that I am too old to do anything? People are in their 70s and 80s still climbing mountains and shit. Now, I mean, I'm not telling you to climb a mountain. I'm certainly not. But I'm just saying, where the desire is there, if you put the steps into place, you can do it. I'm not telling you to climb a mountain. I'm saying to give yourself a chance on something that you want to do. What about, I don't have enough time? But you know everything that's going on Love and Hip Hop. I use that because that's literally one of my favorite shows. I have these conversations with people all the time. Okay, you don't have enough time, but I guarantee you can recite to me what happened in last week's episode of X, Y, and Z. You don't have enough time, but you've been on the phone with so-and-so talking about whatever for at least 30 minutes. Could you have spent that 30 minutes doing something else? I say these things to you as much as I'm saying them to myself because I am guilty of the exact same things. It is no way a judgment or anything. If you can see how many reality TV show hours I done racked up, it's sad. However, I am trying to make a change. Scratch the trying. I am making a change. You are hearing the change. You are actually a part of my change. Another last thing that I constantly do, and I just want to speak to this. Later never comes. I have a bunch of little projects around my apartment. Later. Oh, well, yeah, I'll finish resanding that table and staining it later. Don't you know I still got 2 legs of a dining room table that I've been talking about doing? This has been for months. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? Yet I will watch Naked and Afraid every episode, or I will sit on the phone with whoever, or I'll find myself on Instagram for 20, 30 minutes because I got stuck in a rabbit hole and started looking at pictures, and all of a sudden I look up and I don't know how much time has passed. Later never comes. Really, really, really make sure that we are putting in the steps to forget about later. Do something towards it now. Do something towards it now. I've had this mic set up for a couple of weeks. Later, later, I do the exact same thing. Taking action and having that small kernel of faith is the cure to fear. Anything that you fear, action is the biggest blockbuster for fear. Sitting around, it gets fear, it feeds fear. And the fear is just coming from the unknown. The fear is coming from what you don't know because you haven't done it yet. And you're giving yourself a million reasons why it can't work before you've tried. But what about for those of us who have tried? We've tried something and it hasn't worked, but we really, really want to do it. Stephen King was rejected 30 times for Carrie. 30 times. The thing that made him one of the biggest movies at that time. He got rejected 30 times. 30 companies said, I don't see it. And he actually believed it. He threw it away. His wife had to fish it out. And she had to encourage him. No. Resubmit it. She finally convinced him, and that's why we have Carrie. And that's why faith is so important. That's why that voice inside of you that tells you that you want to do something and you know it's coming from a pure place and you know that you deserve it, but you're just scared. I'm telling you, if you needed to hear this message, I'm telling you, breathe and act through the fear. You deserve it. And you are human. You are capable of insane things. We are capable of things that we don't even know that we're capable of yet. We're going to find out. There's going to be a lot of fallout from this quarantine, and a lot of it's going to be good. When there's a need, we as human beings will fill that need. So I want to hear about your stories of how you're taking these leaps of faith. I want to hear about the stories of how we're utilizing this time, in a good, positive way as we're stuck in the damn house. Please do two things for me. Take to heart the message today, because I know that some of you needed to hear this. And I ask that you like and subscribe to the Instagram, the YouTube, the Facebook page, and wherever you're listening to me right now. I just want to take a little time to thank every single person who is still working on the front lines to keep us safe. Grocery stores, utility people, healthcare workers, everyone who keeps nursing homes running and public servants. Thank you so much. We know that you're putting your lives on the line. We continue to pray for you and your family, and I ask that everyone continue to be safe. And I will be working on identifying compelling and inspiring topics so that I may be of service to you. Thank you for listening, and check me next week. Thank you for listening to Spicy Pecan Podcast. This is a Wonderful Me Media production.